the guy.
And this illusion, compared to, say, getting a Dusa and a PL illusion, is kiteable. So even if Grimstroke gets agged, it's not the end of the world. You can still deal with that. And there's my favorite solo hero. I do hope at solo on the Disruptor. Long time ago, he was the best Eastern European Disruptor. And he was so good, he inspired all the other Eastern Europeans to also play Disruptor. And it became the best region at Tractor Disruptor. It was incredible. Distractor, thank you.
Yep,
they're honestly fantastic. We're in for a treat. I think this hero is also really good against Visage. Honestly, if they play it as a 4, it's justified this game as well. Don't really mind. You have to be a bit careful, but I think Pugna can cover some of Disruptor's weaknesses this game.
Yeah, and you're totally onto something about saying how strong this hero is against Visage. Because honestly, if you find him in the fights and are able to, at least, if you only cast one spell, just one, all of Disruptor is going to be great. If it's one spell being the ulti, of course, that's great. Kinetic Field, super annoying. Glimpse, you set up easily for a kill. Even Thunderstrike is great against this hero out of the laning stage because you're going to remove his stacks. He's going to be at minimum at least 2 stacks because of that regeneration time for Visage just with Thunderstrike alone. So yeah, it's super good versus Visage here.
Okay, and they keep a Pango, even though they have last pick. What the greatness of Pango is that we know Force Major also plays it. He has played it before, so it's a flex between 4 and mid. 4 Pango, not as common these days, but certainly still viable, and it's a very good game for the 4 Pango because you can't get killed and you can't get jumped by Storm, honestly. Storm is actually one of the best counters to mid Pango in general, so it doesn't look like the best mid Pango game, but the stun is still useful. And that's why they get rid of 1 mid laner, 1 support, not really sure where the Pango's going to go. I personally rather have 4 Pango this game because, again, the matchup against Storm becomes really difficult, but you also might just be fodder for Storm even if you're 4, right? So,
BetBoom seem to want to at least maintain the flex potential for their last pick as they do ban out that Bloodseeker, which would have been, forcing it over to the support role with how strong Rupture is. So, yeah, they're keeping it open still. I'm curious what this final ban is going to end up being.
Bloodseeker is also very good against Visage. Very, very good because the Rupture just tears right through him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Stoneform is a decent counter to that, but that requires you to have Shard, and then you set up for lots of other things from, Disruptor. Yeah, there's so many problems. Yeah. And again, there's an upside to picking these kind of weirder off-meta heroes, which is, enemies might not be prepared for it. They tend to, quote-unquote, waste bans, right, on these heroes. If they ban a Visage, then that allows something like a TB through, for example, like we saw last series, pardon me, for BetBoom. But the drawbacks are that the hero just isn't really that good and has a lot of counterplay, as we're seeing here in this draft play out for NaVi.
I just feel like I just see pick after pick, and I go, well, this is a good counter to Visage. This is also a good counter to Visage. This counters Visage. Timbersaw's another one. Yep. Probably one of the strongest counters, because Chakram just shreds through Visage as well.
Pango, though, I mean, it's a really good Pango game so far, right? It's
it is.
Really, really free. So
except for the mid lane matchup. Like, again, Storm really does destroy.
Yeah.
Storm and Quap are the best heroes against Pango.
But that's a fair point. But at least rotating away and in fights, you'd expect this Pango to have a pretty decent time if he can recover.
Okay.
The Wraith King last pick for NaVi.
I like this. He's good against these kind of burst damage heroes like Visage, right? And also, Visage Orchid Ags build seemed really good this game because of the Storm. This Wraith King makes it much less impactful. And I love the CK offlane. I think the CK offlane is better than CK carry for this game because we talked about the impact of the Shard. And I think it still builds pseudo carry, so it's not that big a deal. We'll see what the last pick is here for BB. I honestly would like a different mid laner, something a bit more powerful than the Pango.
Something that can beat a Storm Spirit, something that can clear illusions, something that...
DP's in the pool, but I mean, I guess not clear illusions.
I'm thinking Lesh, right? We've seen Laurel on that quite a bit. At least when Wraith King respawns, you stun him. Decent lane versus Storm, right? You would just be swapping the mid lanes. I could honestly see that. For a position 4, if you're going to last pick one, I'm trying to think of one. That seems
There's only one that's too impactful. Your position 4.
Thinking like Shaman, potentially.
I mean...
Chen? Okay.
Okay, so Chen 5, I presume, because Soneko always plays that hero.
Yep. And this will enable at least Force Major to be a little bit greedier with his farm, so we might see that Ag Scepter for the Dark Portrait. Unfortunately for him, there was a patch, right, where Grimstrokes kept buying this item versus Wraith King, and then Wraith King would just, like, kill his entire team. That was mainly because of how strong the build-up, not the build-up, but how strong Radiance was in that patch.
Yes.
I don't expect, unless you're playing against Alliance, the Wraith King's probably not going to build that item, so this illusion's not really as good. So that's why I also really like this NaVi pick, because you'd think these CK illusions are good, and they are. They're pretty strong, but CK just kills it immediately. Wraith King's going to kill his own illusion immediately. it's tough. NaVi have drafted pretty well around what BetBoom have proposed.
Yes. I would agree. The illusion here, there's like upsides and downsides, right? On one hand, melee illusions obviously kiteable, but also you have melee cores except Storm, right? So making, I mean, how do you kite it to hit it, right? It has to be the supports that kite it, much harder. But CK does have that reality of Spears or Spell immunity, which will be able to play around with this Wraith King illusion, which is going to be a big deal. We'll see how this works out. I'm most interested, though, in this Pango Storm matchup. Again, in other regions where Pango mid has been very popular, it's just been the quintessential counter. I don't know if Laurel feels like that's not the case, or if he feels like he can carry the game anyway, because it is true that besides the Storm, it is a really good Pango game. We'll see how the impact is. He does not scale, though, as well as the Storm did last game, but he is a bit faster. He should be a bit faster. So we'll see if the tempo changes for BB. And I'm once again curious about the Hawk's Visage build.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, again, if Pango can make it out of the laning stage with farm, or if they can stack from or do something, simply put, to make sure that his game isn't completely stymied towards the start. I mean, this Pango mid is incredible. Yes, the Coddle was banned, so it's not going to be just, double swashbuckle with all that damage on top of the Diffusal, but it's still going to be something. Rolling Thunder, basically nothing to stop him. Storm is going to lack the damage. A BKB to Wraith King towards the late game can probably kill him, right, at some stage with like an Abyssal, but that is just very late. Oh man, what a Wraith King taunt. He's got the new one here for Batoon.
What, isn't it the Skeleton Hawk one?
Yeah, I believe it picks him up on the throne.
Yeah, the true Wraith King taunt. Okay, Batoon. That's 60% a damage reduction with Shield Crash. They're not killing him now, but Laurel might die as a result. Okay. Laurel does die, but he does get the first blood, or they do get the first blood on Batoon with the Hawk. That's fine. And the Stroke of Fate slows down SweetNStrike. Notice they go for God's Rebuke. He has another one soon. In fact, Soul Assumption will just get this kill instead. There's the God's Rebuke. They're cleaning house, Richie. Solo's in trouble. That level 1 Penitence is actually screwing him over. Notice can get this kill too. Finally, a kill for the offlaner.
4 for 1.
Oh my god. He actually commits suicide as well.
Yeah.
Because he just wants to go back to lane full HP.
And I can tell you, that's exactly the kind of fight that BetBoom were looking for in game number 1. Because that's why DeHawk takes Soul Assumption. This spell, again, it kicks butt early on. It is an incredible nuke, especially if you're fighting like that. I mean, this hero is like a killer in Shy lanes as a support or a core because of this spell. So that's the start that DeHawk wants. Let's look at it again. So good. Let's watch it twice. I think he gets off 3. Plus, of course, Laurel tanks an insane amount as well. I mean, it's just the ideal level 1 fight, basically, for BetBoom.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The choice as well, what I liked as well, is the Penitence level 1, right, for Soneko. I think that was huge. And you can kind of see the impact of it in the middle of the fight. I mean, obviously, this is going to weaken your laning stage ever so slightly, but I think it's worth it. And we have seen Chen's go for Penitence level 1 in lane. It's not crazy. Because obviously it still allows you to harass a fair amount. The bonus attack speed's really nice.
Yep, that's going to be a 4 for 1 super early on, of course. 2 eventually because of the self-deny, but quote-unquote deny, right? They still get a little bit of golden XP for that, but barely nothing. And Mars is back to lane with full HP. He's incredibly happy. Yep. Only downside is DeHawk. A little bit lower for mana now, right? He was completely dried out. Soul Assumption, very expensive. 120 mana cost at each level, but he's going to be in a pretty decent position. Oh, and by the way, like, no armor on this hero, and yeah, Laze is going to be using that to his advantage.
Laze hoping that SweetNStrike can learn more heroes than Pugna 4, so he can actually deal physical damage someday, but for now it's working out. Another Blast level 1. Get what? I think it's 8 nethers? Yeah, you get 8. Yeah, 5 Nether Blasts at level 1, right? It's kind of crazy. The amount of mana that he has is great. That's so much damage. If you hit both people with them, it becomes really difficult to fight him. We do finally get the Holy Persuasion, though, on Soneko.
A kill down bottom in the meantime, as Natus will pick up one onto Batoon, and perhaps even Solo, who's looking to maybe get Force Major, but not enough Thunderstrikes left in the tank. The Spear as well will pick up the second kill here for Natus. It's his 3rd of the game already, and Force Major just simply going to go for the quote-unquote deny.
Yep. This lane is much stronger. They're playing this game better as well. The kill potential is much higher for them than last game. And once again, you don't have the timing that they did last game where the Deuce just kind of takes over, right? So if this continues this way, I feel like the stress on BetBoom is much less, and they still stand a solid chance. Last time we said that if it goes past minute 25, the game is over. I think this game, not really as clear-cut as that.
Yeah, and again, a great deny there for SeekNStrike top lane. But again, BetBoom very much a team that likes to play with the tempo. I think the fact that they not only get first blood but 4 kills off of it is just a great mental reset right from game one. Which
I agree.
They just never really got anything going in game one. Is kind of what it felt like to me. I imagine here for a team that is coming off of a high of playing team spirit, that can be a little bit demoralizing.
I don't know if they come off at a high. Did you remember the Soneko interview yesterday?
He was pretty chill, but that is just the way in Eastern Europe. You know, when we interviewed who was it, Melis, right after an incredible win back in the TI qualifiers, he was still like, yeah, you know, it was pretty cool.
I could have played better. I remember a couple mistakes, and he points them out to us. Soneko's going to get SeekNStrike. Oh, no, it's actually going to be given to the Hawk. Lays regretting the choice of going to Soneko. That melee creep utilized to much more impact than I was expecting. The new passive of Run Team makes him honestly really weak against heroes in general. But the body blocks are quite effective.
I'm gonna use like a 10-point Jeopardy word here or whatever to describe it. But you know, these players, you know, the attitudes are just, they're much more stolid, right, about how they treat these kinds of things.
Stolid, huh?
Yeah, it's a good word.
I don't get that.
It's like stoic-ish, you know, but a little bit more just, you know, straight up, just kind of, yeah, this is how it was. You know, we could have done better. We're hoping to do better, and we think we're good. You know, that's basically the interview with Soneko. But either way, it's a good reset for BetBoom, and I think that's exactly what they needed here. Mid lane is, of course, going Storm favored, as you suggested it would in the draft. But Pango still managing to find farm through the side camps, and as well with all the regen in his bottle, able to at least not fall too far behind in the early last hits.
Yeah, I mean, Laurel, so Quap is by far the Pango's worst matchup in the mid lane, and you get destroyed there. But with Storm, it's still doable if you know how to play this matchup a little bit. Again, it's just about pushing out the lane, or shoving it, rather, and getting the small camp as a result, and maybe even getting some stacks, which he hasn't been able to make just yet. The problem with Storm versus Pango is that Storm can always zip to you, and it's a nuisance, especially if he goes for Orchid build, which not common these days, but against Pango could be justified. Yep. Talk about Pango, by the way. Laurel is in trouble, or Laurel thinks he can fight this. He does have this damage combo, but yeah, I think he got a bit too hasty there. Shield Crash not going to save him, and no one gets a free kill.
Yeah, no one even pretty confident there in that one mano-a-mano. Still had Fairy Fire, 2 bottle sips. Even if he tanks a little bit of the tower, he's not taking a death there. So nicely calculated by no one. That's his 2nd kill of the game. But, of course, the first solo kill there onto the Pango. So this lane is going to start to get a bit difficult, especially as, well, not only is he about to hit level 6 heals, he's already done so.
Sure. Blaze. Top lane, they're going for him again. The body blocks by Soneko are just actually brutal.
Get him,
Laze
Potato.
can't get away from the creep.
Get him, Potato. Give me the vision.
Laze is going to die. Oh, wow. Soneko actually used this body block more effectively than I've seen supports use stuns.
Yeah. And the Potato does literally nothing now. But you know, the Swiftness aura, I guess it's okay.
No, you know what? He's the best body blocking cleat because he just gives aura, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
So Neko's a genius. You just don't see it.
But I was actually going to talk about how the Hawk is at 16 denies versus a CK with a Quelling Blade.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
It's very good because they did buff this Visage's projectile speed. It used to be dreadfully slow.
Yes,
that
was good actually.
Versus a CK, impressive.
Yes, I mean now it's actually a pretty decent projectile, but you're right, still melee of course. Soneko in the mid lane, SeekNStrike could be in trouble himself. He dies
even no one.
Laurel's damage, and no one. He's forced to retreat here. He is able to get away, but BetBoom is playing this early game much better, and it seems the Storm is a little bit of a trap right now because the speed of this hero is just a bit too slow for NaVi to play with. No trade either this game.
An early tip from Laurel as well. So once again, you know, I don't like to read too much into the emotions of the players, but I can definitely say he's happy with the way this game is progressing so far.
Yes.
Maybe trying to go for a little bit of the mental warfare versus no one.
Dude, he's going to get the Fusil Blade actually kind of early, and this Storm is going to be screwed. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Usually against Pango, you expect to have a much better lane, but the supports have not really rotated for NaVi. One of the other weaknesses they have, right? Disruptor, Pugna, what do they do if they rotate? They secure Rune at best. That's it.
Disruptor, I think's got a little bit of potential, but his problem is that if he's going to be useful for rotating mid, it means he's got like 2 or 3 points into glimpse, and that means he doesn't do a lot in lane as he's being dove now.
Okay, something I want to point out as Solo dies here. I mean, he has a Soul Ring. He doesn't want to use it. have you noticed how arenas are all about blocking the tower projectiles to dive? It's not so much about getting the arena combo with spear. It's actually kind of interesting how he's playing the Mars. He doesn't use it for the damage, right? He uses it, especially against supports, he just uses it to block tower projectiles and just run them down like that.
Yeah, it's beautifully done, to be honest. It's a different way of utilizing the hero, right? This is in a similar vein. Hold that. No, well, that's only solo TPing, but the Hawk is level 6, so he's going to want to fight versus Lays. Instead, they're going to go for the easy kill onto the Chen. Basically guaranteed is the Hawk with a double stun. Looking for Lays, just needs the vision, and is going to be now bolstered by Laurel, who shows up. It's going to go to Laurel, who, utilizing his little car, is going to get that kill early. The Hawk, massive damage at a solo, and now no one showing up a bit later in the fight. The Familiars have stuns if they want to use them, as Laurel picks up another one onto SweetNStrike, and there's one stun. Oh, the second not going to quite catch him, but Laurel doesn't need him. Even without the defusal, a perfect catch there on the swashbuckle reductions by the Arcane Covenant. Clutch there for him, certainly, but 4 dead in exchange for 1. Just like First Blood, another fantastic fight for BetBoom.
Man, the hero is actually making a difference that when you really consider in the draft. The Chen, oh my goodness, SeekNStrike, the impact of this hero is incredible. That purge would allow them to get so many kills. And of course the Storm, right? Much slower. SeekNStrike's trying to make the same moves as Lesh. The difference that SeekNStrike has this game is that he's not Lesh, so when he dies here, recovery is much harder. I mean, it's
sorry,
true, right?
It says, no, it's just a very John Madden thing to say. You know, compared to last game, he's not Leshrac.
And that is a problem. And because of that, no one is not going to be able to recover as nice as last game. These kills, I think, are going to be much more impactful. We'll see, though, as Laurel's got his Diffusal Blade online.
He wants to go in again.
Sorry, he needs 50 more gold.
Yeah, and I think he should wait, probably. He wants to use this Rolling Thunder because, of course, it was reduced by the Arcane, and he's like, let me at him. I want to tip him again, right? Let me get this kill. A bit difficult versus the Storm. The projectile on Phantom's Embrace is just really slow, to be honest. Even with level 1 bot lightning, Storm should not be caught by it.
Okay.
The Hawk is on the hunt again. They might look again for Lays.
Doesn't have Phantasm. That's good enough to dispel the Penitence. Important. Yep, only 1 point in Penitence, but still a nuisance.
And just to check up on the Hawk's skill build, it's the early drums yet again. So it seems like this is a favorite of his. Expecting to see once again the Boots of Varian at some stage. What that intermediary item is going to be, because he never just rushes them, or at least he hasn't so far. We're going to have to see.
I'm hoping we'll see Axe.
Agreed.
It's kind of crazy that like the Hawk just said, yeah, it really was the Deucer. That was the problem last game.
Yeah.
And he's learning with everyone, right?
And here they go. The drums. It's a pretty big item here, as the Visage Familiars can always try and catch up.
Oh, we're going to see the 4 centers again for SeekNStrike. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
The boys dropping in the club, you know, is very, very, very nice. This first stun,
this is a bit hopeful, I think.
It is a bit hopeful, but the
not with Laurel here.
Pango turns hope into a reality, unless you miss the stunning on the Pugna, and then don't go for CK. Okay, he got the stun towards the end.
Oh,
and
great
swashbuckle. Yep, he actually hits both there. Diffusal Blade Purge has been used, but thanks to the stun of the Familiars, they get 2 kills, and perhaps a tower.
Yep, and they even had the Harpy Scout there, so there was really no chance for the CK to live. So Nickel picking that one up pretty early.
They have the Ogre Frost Mage to push us faster, and it's something we see particularly in EU most, which is they sometimes, when they have a fast lineup, prioritize the tier 1 top, the offlane tier 1, and they take, tier 1 in the offlane, and they take over the triangle, right? Especially if they're dire, because Radiant Triangle means rush potential. And by doing this, they deny NaVi of their own triangle, and they just know they're faster and stronger right now, and that's certainly the case this game.
And Oliver, I'm going to put on my John Madden voice here and say, you know, no one, he's in the mid lane, and compared to where last game where he was Leshrac and was able to at least threaten and even push the tower, this game, he's not Leshrac. He's a Storm. Doesn't push as quickly, nearly as quickly even.
Yeah, the strategy was good. We'll talk about this now because no one jumped in. He does get Force Major. In comes Laurel, though. Diffusal Blade, a bit of a nuisance, and they have the arena. Missed the spear, however. And take the Wraith King's first life, but he comes back again. Static Storm, really bad for Laurel, who can't get away. Laurel's going to commit suicide there. In fact, Natus could be in trouble himself. SweetNStrike healed just enough with that life drain, but Natus will be able to get away.
And just super ambitious positioning there. Even Dahak finds himself, like, I want to say, kind of running towards a tier 2 tower and towards death, as he is going to be reality rifted even further out of position and killed off. I was really hopeful that they were going to be able to get off a couple of really, really sick combos. They actually have something that's going to be pretty brutal in these team fights that I'll go ahead and remark now. Again, we don't really see Visage too much, but he does actually have this Soul Assumption hits 2 targets talents. And you pair that actually with Soulbind, and ooh, baby. you are getting out lots and lots and lots and lots of damage in the team fight. This ability, let's not underestimate it. It kicks butt once it's maxed. It's so good.
Yeah. So let's talk about the point that you were making earlier with the Storm versus Lesh, right? Something they had last game was not just the Lesh, but also Glimpse. At least Natus will not get the kill on the
They're fighting over the vision. Yeah, and the Hawk's just going to deny it.
So last game, not only the Lesh, but also the DK, right, allowed them to do this tower trading thing, which meant that Medusa always had space. But this game, they can't do that, which means all tier 1s for BB are still alive, and now Wraith King is going to struggle to find the space he needs this game.
Yeah.
Lay's having to create in the top lane. He does get the Penitence off himself, but realizes, oh no, there is no tier 1 here. Who's going to come save me? The answer is no one. Lays, you're just a sacrificial pawn, so that the rest of Navi can at least find farm.
Yep, and it's not no one the hero, it's like no one is and nobody is here to assist him. SeekNStrike is
very good
losing
point.
the 1v1 to CK, and he's
His
going to
game, of course,
immediately
is
get his
noon.
clarity canceled. I don't know what he was hoping for there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing that Centaur is able to kill is simply the Centaur Conqueror, as he conquers that and gets a little bit of
So you mean
bonus
the
gold.
CK? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously, killing that one is honestly early game kind of impactful, but you don't want to lose a hero for it.
No, you don't. Yeah, I mean, it's mental damage here to SeekNStrike, who's now going to have to try and find another one. Well, it's
he
just
got
about
the
impossible.
Courser.
Because Laurel is basically just, you know, farming up everything on the map.
Oh. I mean, this feels really bad, though, the Courser, because the strategy with the Coursers is not good anymore, because you don't really, they don't stack.
Can't stack them. Yeah, that was, by the way, the dumbest thing ever. I'm super glad that was immediately patched out.
Yeah, back then it was actually pretty good, because you had the gang of little kids in the neighborhood, but now it's like, you're asking the kid, it's like, can your big brother come out to play? No, but I'm available. All right, okay. I'll take you, I guess. And then Centaur Courser is only going to really bring... I mean, early is kind of decent, I guess, against Storm and Disruptor.
Yeah. I mean, and the Cloaker is good, but like really crucial against, because basically I mean, I guess with armlets it's really good. It's CK though, a lot of physical damage. But early, at least the people who you expect to be showing up to fights and doing damage are going to be basically doing magic damage, and that helps SeekNStrike keeps his creeps alive as well as of course his friends. Notice?
Well, Inkshell just for good measure.
Nice. Yeah, and with Blink, he's going to easily get away here.
But these are the plays Navi has to make, right? Because they can't push towers just much easier. They have to go for these slightly riskier plays where they try to threaten the kill. And if they don't get the kill, it feels like wasted time, but it's what your draft is made to do. They can also cut lanes aggressively. It's all about, like, a lot of this game is going to be about how no one can take advantage of the aggressive farm, per se, on the Storm, because he won't be able to take the objectives as easily. But he will be taking the tier 1 off lane. They can take over the triangle like BB, but it is a bit of gold. It has tiny bit of space for the team.
Yeah, and hold on, let me see what Dahak is building before I say this. Okay, it is going to be Acceptor. Compared to last game, Dahak's not going to really feel this impact as much because he's going to be looking to fight with this item. He's not really looking to simply just farm, right? So even though you will be having the opportunity and you equalize the map pressure in terms of the triangle, I don't think it's going to be as impactful. Like, who are you going to catch farming there? SeekNStrike? I don't care. Laurel's pretty tough to kill.
I agree.
It's not as impactful. Also, they lack the mid-tier 1 tower, which still makes it slightly risky and a little bit more difficult to get into the triangle.
Honestly, I would have liked this build last game too with the Ags, but I'm assuming Dahak felt the pressure of the Dusart, right, that game?
Yeah.
And he probably realized in the draft, like, we forgot to ban the Dusart. Yeah, that was our mistake, and that's why they fixed it in the second draft, which is cool. I like this dot confidence in this Visage pick, and I think the Ags is definitely the better build for Visage. It feels like a very lackluster hero if you don't play him like that, and Orchid or not, I don't think it matters too much this game. But now you can hunt down literally everyone. As the arena comes, they're going to hunt down the Disruptor. And solo feels really bad because no matter how good a Disruptor you are a win more hero. You feel terrible when you win.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot of counterplay here for him to make. You know, like sometimes if you're playing against a Wisp or playing against a Storm, it can still be a little bit useful because like you really punish these heroes that use a lot of mobility. No such hero really exists this time around. We can see the Mars not even really having the amount of impact he was hoping for.
Yeah.
The
like
Hawk
Pango
here,
exists, right? But the way you play the team fights... Yeah, that's good. The way you play team fights on Pango against Disruptor is you just rolling Thunder preemptively and you go for a Blink. He had to farm to actually go for Travel Boots, which is great, but you'll go for Blink next, and then you don't really care about Disruptor as much.
And, oh, hold on. Pango botsing in here. Pardon me on the Harpy Scout. They will look for a fight, at least a kill here onto Lays.
Yep, got the first stun in. Rolling Thunder will guarantee the skill as they give it to the Hawk. More gold for him. First use of the Ags. And Pango goes, why not more? But realizing, yeah, if he goes in the tower, he can always be punished. They only see the Storm in the map. They don't see the Pug. Now let's not rush it.
Natus maybe looking to at least scare the Storm, but without Arena, there's no real opportunity for him to get a kill there. And yeah, perfect first Ags usage. Bots up now on Laurel, and you can always go in on the Chen army. The Chen army, pardon me, who, by the way, is going to be a little bit buffed this game, right?
Yep.
Because he's got the mechanism, so he can actually keep him alive a bit longer. Last game, we saw Soneko decide to prioritize just rushing Ags. Well, the Shard first, to be fair, but then basically Ags Refresher, because he was playing against a Lich. Sorry, he was playing against, not a Lich, a Bane. And a couple of other heroes that really suffered against his hard dispel. This time around, he's not really highly prioritizing it. So, again, more flexibility in the BetBoom builds. Really, really cool to see.
Something I like a lot from what BetBoom is doing, again, is... I mean, I just love this from the Eastern European region. When they have a fast draft, they're the best region at playing it because they take over the triangle. Now with this tier 2, they'll do what I was talking about earlier, where they just take this over this area with some aggressive wards. And even threaten your towers if you're not careful. That's what they're going to do with the Skeleton Army.
Sorry to cut you off. Speaking of the Skeleton Army, the Familiars benefit from this. Didn't think about it. That's huge for them.
Wow. That's true. That's stupid. That's dumb, Richie.
That's really good. Yeah, it's genuinely very, very good. These Familiars, they've been changed and adjusted a lot over the years. The old Visage players, back when Radovatos was a slow, will remember that they had this weird buff where they had like burst damage. They had like plus 60 damage, and then you would lose a stack of that. Yeah, and then they would do like no damage after 3 seconds of attacking. They've been adjusted. Now they just deal pretty decent damage, to be honest, at each level. But you buff that by using either a Helm or, I guess, Skeletons, and oh man, it's punishing.
And the Skellies are a good usage. That's a good usage of the Chen as well. I like the Chen pick a lot. I also like that the last pick, usually you don't last pick 5s, right? But I think Chen is one of those impactful ones that it justifies it. Harpy Scout might catch Lays. This is Lays doing what you could expect no one to do, right? No one still can't go for the aggressive farm too early, so Lays is playing that game. He's of course going to die a couple of times, but it's justified as long as Navi can find farm and Wraith King and Storm, and they are keeping up, right? It's not over for Navi by any standards. In fact, Storm is going for the Orchid I was talking about earlier to cancel the Pango a bit more. The Wraith King has a good farm now, with a BKB being the quintessential item, so there's Wraith King, and the pivotal item for this draft.
Yeah, that's the fighting item for Vitoon. Again, this hero decently fast compared to most, especially because he farms rather quickly, and we're going to see the effects of that. You have now the Storm BKB at 9 seconds, and likely the Orchid to pair with this double BKB timing on your Wraith King. CK, in the meantime, I believe he's got an item coming his way. I don't know if it's anything major. It's the Ag Shard, and again, we said that this does offer some counterplay against the Visage. It gives you vision in the fights. You can just throw a stun at Chen, and he basically has to just run away. So, you know, not without consequence, but once again, Navi receiving a poor exchange rate here for the tower trades, as it's a tier 1 top in exchange for a tier 2 down bottom. And Hawk and the rest of BetBoom even looking for more, as that's a great initiation. You catch both supports and Solidarity trying to keep themselves alive, but they're going to lose 2 immediately. No one making the jump, has the BKB, going immediately for Force Major, as he's going to be able to dispel himself with his own shard. And now no one, low on mana, gets back on his own high ground. Laurel thinks about giving chase, but will actually drop back, as that's Aegis being reclaimed out from BetBoom. But the push will continue, and they've caught Vitoon, who does not have the BKB yet.
Oh, they didn't push him back with a Hurricane, though. They wanted to retreat instead. So Neko was thinking about that play, but instead they realized that with the buybacks, they're good to go. They forced 2 buybacks. That's pretty good for BB. They don't need to rush this. Any mistake here can be a really big deal. Against Spirit, this was the most impressive part of BB. They knew when to retreat, and it's the hardest part of playing these fast lineups because you feel so strong in the game. Again, we have all this knowledge because we're observers, we're spectators. We have the net worth chart next to us. We know everyone's items. But the fact that BB, despite not having like half the knowledge we do, is still capable of acknowledging this is a bad fight. It shows experience, shows really good patience, and shows why they called the Hawk a tryhard.
Yeah, it's certainly a try. I think Laurel's got a lot to do with this as well. He, again, during their Prodigy season and DPC season #1, not this tour, he was always great at this, right? He was his Pucks, his Void Spirits, these kind of slippery heroes where, like Morphling, you have to play on the knife's edge to really take full advantage of the hero. And he's doing exactly that here on a slightly different hero, the Pangolier. It's really, really cool to see. Now with Diffusal Ag Scepter going next into the Basher.
I'll let they skip the Blink. I think that can punish him. We'll see. I think that Bangos these days always need Blink, honestly, to initiate properly. This build is fine because you got a lot of farm, but Storm is going for Orchid, and you also have the Static Storm to worry about.
Yep, no saves, just lots of heals, so
exactly
could be a bit rough here for him. Well, to be honest, I meant to mention this earlier because Force Major bought the shard right at 15 minutes. You do have the shard for Grimstroke. It's not instantaneous, 3 seconds, right? It takes for it to dispel, but that might be enough for Pango to get off an ability. Who knows?
That's a good point.
NaVi,
That's a good
they are so close. I mean, they can smell themselves being ready to team fights, but unfortunately, they think they're going to be a little bit too slow. No one, he's got Orchid, but the big item that they're waiting for is Vatoon's BKB. He's just 400 gold shy of it, but he's already going to be recalled back to defend again here versus the push that BB are threatening.
Once again, his Dark Troll Summoner plus the Visage.
That's
the
brutal.
new Zeus strat.
Yeah.
More of a biblical Zeus strat, right? Because you run the familiars here, but still working out. As the familiars clear all the wards. Yeah, they're great.
Okay. Vatoon has BKB. NaVi are ready to fight. This could be a big one.
They have Orchid on Storm as well. They go for the Pango. There's the Insult used. That's going to prevent the Soulburn damage,
Nope.
but no. It's not fast enough. Static Storm is not really that useful because the Soulbind keeps him in place, but now with a Glimpse, they bring back the Hawk regardless, and he gets torn to shreds the moment that Cloak is dispelled or taken away.
Yep. And again, NaVi, they are not to be trifled with on this double BKB timing. Like I said, no one, he's certainly not weak. He just hasn't had a partner to jump in with him. Disruptor, Pugna, not the best to play around no one. You're looking for a little bit more lockdown. Wraith King, CK can certainly provide that, but it was just a little bit too risky to join. BB, they are going to pay quite the price here for that failed push. They get a tier 3 tower, but now NaVi are going to be looking to apply the squeeze here and take further fights here. Relatively short cooldowns on these guys, right? Especially when you don't lose reincarnation. You mentioned, of course, the Orchid, and I did bring up the Dispel, but I failed to bring up as well the ultimate trump card that Disruptor brings, Static Storm. You know, if you're trapped inside that right now as this Pango, I mean, nothing's going to be able to save you.
He was dead anyway. The Dispel didn't come out in time, right? Like,
yep.
It was just... It's a 3-second Dispel, right? The Storm jumps you and you're not fast enough on the uptick. I feel like NaVi, though, played that really well because they knew what their big point of inflection were, or what their... They knew what both points of inflection were for those scores. Nice, interesting spear. It was the Orchid on Storm and the BKB on Wraith King. They played exactly on that. There's honestly not going to be a more powerful power spike in the early. Nothing was really well played. Yeah, we see it there. So... the Static Storm was done towards the end, but it didn't matter. Like, they had him anyway. They burst him down so quickly. You have a CK, Wraith King, and Storm, right? The only thing about the Ink Soul Shard that's kind of decent here is that it will prevent the soul burn damage, right? Which is actually a big deal because Storm, if he jumps in solo, he needs that extra damage sometimes to be able to actually kill the Pango. But 3 seconds is too much. If they catch him between the CK illusions, he's dead.
Okay, so by the way, Dahawk did not go for the 15 talent I thought he would, to be quite honest with you. And I think perhaps that last fight had a lot to influence with it because the Soulbind was good. It was onto 2 BKB heroes, but he was unable to, of course, actually toss in Soul Assumptions. Yeah. He has gone for this 1.5 Armor Corruption. That sounds really bad, but they do stack on Visage and on each familiar. So it's pretty decent.
Good BKB on no one, but he's going down to the low ground. Here comes the Hawk. They should know the Hawk is probably lurking around. They have a sentry, so they do catch him. They actually... Oh, he went next to the sentry. That's why he went to the low ground. Smart choice, actually, by no one. Well played. And they just retreat. The more time they get, the better for NaVi, who's, again, keeping their net worth high. They always manage to find farm, which is impressive, because this time the tower trade was not as good. They still managed to do it, despite having much less push than last time, and they still managed to find some decent farm, at least for their mid and carry. It is true that CK had to sacrifice himself as a result, but it's fair. It's justified.
But now without Arena, no BKB on Storm. Yeah, NaVi, they're feeling a bit stronger. They still have BKB on Wraith King. They still have a second life. Laurel, instead make that Laze, making the jump in, will be immediately picked off. Great Rolling Thunder here as Laurel looking to try and burn the mana. This Wraith King does not have a shard, so if they can burn his mana, he will be gone for good. Storm caught here without BKB. It's a good Static Storm by Solo, however. That's going to try and enable here the Wraith King, but he's going to be pinned and sent very far back, killed off eventually. The Orchid here is going to be onto the Pangolier, but not enough magic damage, and in fact, they get the kill onto the Storm, so Neko even throwing the boys here versus Vatoon here on his second life. BK beat up. He's trying to make a run for it, but will be picked off by Dahawk. Soul Assumption. Now no one realizing that he's got no one here to support him, but SwedenStrong is going to have to back off, and that's BB winning massively in the fight as they're likely to get solo here as well.
Yeah, huge, no, or let's say blunder, but I feel like once the CK died there, NaVi should have had the patience to just retreat, right? But they tried to get this pick off on the Grimstroke. Not really worth it. The rest of the heroes are hard to kill, really, and that CK is a large part of your initiation. He doesn't have BKB, he's going for a blink. Like, Laze is easy killed.
Oh, yeah. And more so than that, yes, there was no Arena for the start of that fight, but even probably more importantly, Storm didn't have BKB. I know they don't want to lose Roche, I understand it, but it wasn't really a fight NaVi could afford to take at that time. They didn't have the resources. They were winning these earlier fights because of this dual BKB, but when they're offset like this, Storm is extremely vulnerable this game.
You're also fighting in a pinball zone. Very important thing for Laurel, who managed to get a really easy, like, infinite stun onto the CK. You got to be careful about that. One of the advantages of high ground is that if Pango goes into the high ground to get into the pinball zone, you know, between the stairs, you probably die.
Yep.
So it's not really a good area to be when you push. Like, Pango is an okay pusher into the high ground, and NaVi took advantage of that. But when you fight in the mid lane, that's Pango's place to thrive.
Gotta be honest with you, not in love with this pause timing against the Storm Spirit versus Roche. Very surprised that NaVi haven't said anything. Of course, he was showing in the mid lane at the time, so BetBoom would have known something was coming. But you know what I mean? I would have preferred to see the reason immediately. Like, you know what I mean? Against the Storm in this kind of game, right? We're snatching in ages here.
No, Richie, it's lags. It's lags.
I'm sure it is. I don't doubt it for a second, the sincerity of this BB pause, but just, you know, say it's lags faster versus Storm. It just seems a little rude.
Right. It's like when you give an excuse to your teacher, and like the excuse for why you don't have your homework is obviously a lie, but you have to make it somewhat believable out of respect to your teacher's intelligence.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't be like, my dog ate it, otherwise your teacher's like, come on, dude.
No, you have to say something that my little brother ate, and like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
That makes sense. Wait a second, I thought you said you were an only child.
That's why he ate it, like I ate him in the womb. Oh, whoa. Anyway, BetBoom, I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Not here to judge them, whatever they want to do here.
Yeah, and it's not a big deal, but yeah.
NaVi feels confident, right? They feel like, well, whatever time they have to decide to do here, it doesn't really matter because they can still win the game they play correctly.
Nice find there on the couriers. Those two very cute ones. A little cute Doge and a cat.
That's one of my favorite couriers, yeah. So apparently it's the cat's dead, right? And he went to heaven, but he decided to be the dog's, like, vehicle as a result afterwards when he became an angel.
It's pretty rough for the cat considering he got to die 9 times, 10 with Aegis.
I mean, I'm assuming the dog is the murderer of the cat, and he just like enslaved him afterwards, and that's why he killed him.
Why do you always got to go dark on these things? Oh, the golden cat.
Nice. With a Aegis. Oh, so he has 10 lives, right? Wow.
I guess so. Hard to get through that one. Imagine that.
What else can you find, Pythium? Pythium, can you give us your favorite thing in this map right now that you could watch? What is your favorite part of the map?
It's the couriers, obviously.
Is the couriers?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that courier at the end, the bird with a gun, I think it is. Oh no, it's a pelican. Sorry, it's a pelican with a wooden mouth. I thought that was a shotgun. That's my bad.
Yeah. Okay. That's sure thing, Avo. Yep.
I'm looking at the camera though from Pythia. It looks like a gun.
I don't know. I still think my favorite one is Crappy Wizard, right? He's just so funny. I love that courier so much. Just gets on a flying donkey. It's hilarious.
I like that one. I like the Okami one a lot. Okami is really nice.
No
if
one.
Anyone's played that game.
The Hawk silences the grave. He's moving, looking for a target. He thinks it's going to be no one, but no one is, going to avoid the little bonk there by the familiars.
You can tell that was not going to happen because it's one of those kills where the Hawk is thinking, can I get away with it? And when you're thinking that, the answer is always no, right? Because there was 2 heroes there. This team wasn't close yet.
And counterintuitively, right, he does actually kind of alert enemies when he's nearby because he's now completed the AC. So, you know, Storm was like, why is there an AC debuff on me? Am I in danger? Probably. Let's zip away. Yeah. So, you know, you are kind of alerting enemies to your presence, but it's a crap ton of minus armor here if you can hit with your own auto attacks and both familiars. What is that? Minus 4.5 in addition to the AC. So about minus 10 armor, right now is being applied by Visage, assuming he can land on the auto attacks. Not bad at all.
I want to point out as well that Vatoon has been trying to... He wants to get the shard, but he just can't because he realizes if he wastes 1,400 gold on anything that's not like a core item, he's probably going to be useless soon. But he is desperately trying to reach that shard timing because the Pango's been a nuisance in these fights.
Yeah, and it is a bit of a threat, right? He did go for the 15 talent of 2.5 seconds shield crash ball. So...
I mean, you always go for that nowadays with the new Ags, dude. And, sorry, not with the new Ags, but the new Diffusal Blade that you build always. It's just so good. It's just so good.
Yeah, so it's a looming threat here for Vatoon, but not one that he feels like he needs to address immediately.
The ratting has upgraded, Richie. Now with a Chen, these racks are
It's really good, yeah. And you just send in the boys, and you heal them up, and now Vatoon's just like, well, I got the Kobold.
Yeah, it's not even... They didn't even get the potato, man.
No.
That's the basis of their cuisine as well.
Yeah, Vatoon, he's going to be a bit upset by that one. 8 damage, though, on his Desolator. He's starting to scale pretty decently now with the Blink Dagger. He can actually reach some of these heroes. If he can get on top of Visage, oh boy, does he melt just instantly. That is assuming Dahak doesn't get off the stone form immediately. Again, once you start this animation, you're turning yourself into stone, and there ain't anything enemies can do about it.
But they are going to static storm you eventually, right?
Yeah.
Either they get you beforehand, or they get you right after you come out, which is fine either way. The only problem, of course, is that they have to wait until you come out of the stone. That means you're probably not getting anyone else in static storm.
And speaking of, by the way, Static Storm, Solo and the rest of Navi are looking to upgrade this one into the Acceptor form. And this is pretty significant because they've decided amongst themselves, or maybe Solo says, shut up, sweet and strong, I'm buying Ags, don't take any of my farm. I'm not sure. It's probably much more diplomatic than that, right? But either way, they're hoping to get this online, which is going to be very, very punishing towards PP. One of the better Ags upgrades in the entire game, to be honest.
Nope. Good arena, actually, even with the glimpse, and they immediately TP out. Good choice by Navi.
Good choice. The Hawk was on his way.
From my understanding, Solo is one of the most respected, if not the most respected person in the EEU scene, right? Or at least, especially in Russia, because of his trajectory as a captain. So I'm pretty sure Solo goes, I want that this game, and SeekNStrike goes, yes, sir, I will make it happen for you, sir. Right?
Yes,
it's
sir.
Like that. There's no need for him to argue.
I'll stack. I will not max Nether Blast even.
Oh, it's true, yeah. I'll max the creep, sir, to keep you alive, sir.
It's good. That a boy, sweet and strong.
Хорошо, sports, or, sorry, sweet and strong.
Spasiba.
As, BetBoom. Хорошо means good, by the way, in case you don't know.
Okay.
Or like
Spasiba
good,
thank
cool,
you.
well done. Yes, Spasiba's thank you. There's also an Axe coming in on Force Major, though. He's the Force, so he deserves it. And that is going to be a bit of a nuisance for Navi to deal with, because now every single item they get on Vitoon, they also get it on Force Major.
Yeah. Again, now that Wraith King doesn't build Radiance, not too big of a deal. It's still good.
I mean,
it's still very good. And it's still something that they have to deal with. The crits are good, but, you know.
Yeah, especially because the CK isn't really having the impact we expected him to. I think it's justified because Laze had to sacrifice himself for his team, but that does mean he's fallen off hard. And Wraith King, CK is not a good hero to fall off with as an offlaner. If you play something like, I don't know, say Tide or whatever, Ravage is always going to be good despite your items. CK, all of a sudden, you were really wishing you had BKB. You had to go for Blink, fair enough, but BKB here would do a lot of good.
I think he can still do a lot of good, to be honest, because if you can put Visage out of position, and he did Visage, by the way, without a singular defensive item. I got to boots, pardon me, of Baron, you could argue, a bit of a defensive item. But when you're out of position like that and then immediately stunned, like, you're going to die. So, you know, I think the Blink is still a pretty decent item here. Okay, Natus is going to remove that Arcane Rune from the map. He'll claim it himself. Didn't want anyone, for example, like a Storm to claim that. As Vitoon is going to break the smoke mid lane just by hitting creeps.
Okay, Arena. I want to collect the Wraith King's ham, but he does have a second life here. Might not be a cat this big, but I don't know if the second life is going to be enough. The Rolling Thunder from the back lines, no Blink Dagger, but still going to get there in time. Perfect timing, actually, and then the pinball zone once again. It's Wraith King. The Decrep is not going to save him. He's going to go down. Storm trying to create chaos and discord in the back lines, but they actually cancel his TP with Spear. He still silenced the killed Laze as well, and no one with very low mana. Now hit by the Basher. His mana's done. He's just going to accept death. Oh no, Navi just got wrecked. GG, well played.
They just call it the Solo.
Oh,
he calls
wow.
it. I mean, it's respect from Solo really when he calls it, because they know it. I mean, this game is just over after that team fight. Couldn't have been more perfect. They control him through the first life, but it's such a low commitment, all things considered. Yes, an arena is used, but the way that they corral him, the way that they force him to remain in that unfavorable terrain for Navi to be fighting in, and the way that Lord, and he must have been salivating, right? He's like, let me jump in, let me get at that rolling Thunder zone. Absolutely perfect. And the cherry on top, he even dies to his own illusion because Force Major got Ags delivered just before then. Notice just couldn't really have the impact he was looking for there on the CK basically all game. No good opportunity there for a Static Storm, and BetBoom absolutely dominate this time with the Visage. They turn it around. They say Dusa was the problem, definitely wasn't Dahak, and they put their money where their mouth is. It's going 1-1 to game 3.
Yeah, it wasn't the gargoyle either, right? So that was that was what the Hawk figured out. We learned with him as well because we thought Dusa was good against Visage, but not to that degree. Apparently, just completely canceled him. There's a couple of things though that went differently. Like a Trim Protector obviously made pushing much faster. The Storm also made the early game much more difficult than with Lesh. And I think to me the biggest one also, and this is more of a gameplay thing, was CK losing his lane that hard, right? Because he lost his lane that hard, he then played a very sacrificial game, which is fine. But if CK wins his lane like he's meant to, this game game would have had a completely different outcome. At least wouldn't have been as one-sided coming into like minute 20, minute 15, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the early team wipe or near team wipe also was a big deal. But that was not so much Lays playing badly. It's just Soneko is a godlike Chen. GG's played an incredible Chen in the early, and he pretty much carried the first 20 minutes, and that was all they needed, really.
Agreed. Yeah, like you're saying, I think that early first blood, especially because it did go to Dahak and he gets up like plenty of kills in that fight. He comes to lane already with 1 full null talisman, and he gets the second online by the time that the 5th wave is spawning. The drums were super early. You had a strong laner like Chen. I also think that the early fights also kind of assisted and even helped out. Sorry, that when they go. Laurel quite a lot in the mid lane, because that was a lane that you were saying, rightfully so, as we've seen historically be Storm favored, didn't go that bad actually for Laurel, all things considered. Still got online early. The early rotations, super good, especially with this early item build that the Hawk went with the Ags early. I was in love with that. I mean, just a completely different game. Just a completely different game where Navi this time certainly felt the pressure and will stumble. It's a 1-1.
Yeah. We'll see what happens in Game 3, guys, as we go once again to a small break and wait for that Game 3 to begin between NaVi and BetBoom. This is Eastern Europe, the land of the 3-game series. So we'll see you again for the last third game to see who can remain in the winner's bracket.